From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. And it is time for the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles. And let's go ahead and jump into our first topic in hand, and that's going to be this. It's going to be the Rangers win 3-1 in Phoenix to take a 2-1 series lead with the expecting game 4. So you have this Rangers team that is just absolutely unbeatable on the road, it seems like. This team has wound up winning their first 9 games on the road, and I think that's a record in itself that a team has been this dominant on the road. And, they haven't swept every single series, but it's crazy because this is the only series where they didn't start the series on the road. So that's pretty good. And they got 4 road wins in their last series, so that was absolutely epic for this team. And they can get 2 more and actually raise up the trophy and become the World Series champs. But I don't think that they're going to get to that moment quick enough. I think that's going to be something that is probably going to be put on the back burner until you can get back to Texas, because I don't see this Rangers team laying down 3 in a row. But I can say one thing: Texas did seize the momentum back in this series. I felt like the Diamondbacks had the momentum in Texas because they won game 2 very convincingly. In game 1, they blew the lead in the 9th inning. So they could have been up 2-0. Now they're down 2-1. And that's how it goes in this monkey show sometimes. So pretty much you have a very, very fun group in the Diamondbacks that are not going to lay down. Okay, their season's not ending on Wednesday. I can guarantee that. And I know that they have a pitcher tonight that most are very unaware of, but he wound up pitching pretty good last time they had him on the mound. And I think that they know that it has to be all arms in tonight. So they'll probably be going with the guy that they have as the 5th starter as well, too, coming in maybe in the 4th and 5th inning, because they're going to try to break it up to where they don't have to dig deep into that bullpen. This is a very, very critical game for both sides, because you look at the Rangers and you know that they're probably going to have to dip into their bullpen a little early tonight, because Heaney is a 5-inning pitcher probably at best. And I think they're probably going to use him for 3. And, they had to dip into the bullpen early last night because Scherzer left the game early. Even though he pitched well, they still had to deal with, bringing in some pretty good arms that are probably going to be a little taxed tonight when it comes down to this game. That's why I said that I truly feel this game tonight, when you guys see our talking tickets, this game is actually going to be a game that's going to be a firefight. And a firefight, to me, really favors Arizona in Arizona. It would favor the Rangers in Texas, but in Arizona, it favors the Diamondbacks, because the Diamondbacks showed us in the most critical game against Philly when they were able to have that 4-run lead and come back from that and win the game 6-5. That saved the series for this team, because literally that would have ended the series right there if they would have lost game 4, because they weren't going to win game 5, because that game right there would have broke them. And game 5 gave them a breather and said, okay, we can possibly get this game, but we got the confidence that we're a good enough road team that we can finish this thing off in Philly. They had that assumption. The rest of us didn't, and the history was made. Now we move forward. We're here in the World Series. They're kind of in the same scenario. They're in a must-win situation in game 4, and when this team has been in a must-win situation, they've been at their absolute best. Texas in a must-win situation, they kind of been a little shaky, but that was because the last series they were going against an interstate rival in the Astros. I just truly feel that Why I said this, because they blew 3 straight home games. You know what I mean? And then they come back and they were able to find the mojo again, but it looked like they were on their way out in game 6 and they weren't having any parts of that. So it is what it is at the end of the day. This series is wound up being much better than advertised, and I truly do feel that this will be a series that goes down to game 7. And tonight, the Diamondbacks do go ahead and tie this thing up. And so that's where I'm going with that. And I'll have more tickets for you guys once we get to talking tickets. So with that, we're going to move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into last night on Monday Night Football. The Lions beat the Raiders 26-14 to improve to 6-2. Are the Lions a part of the NFC Elite now? Well, when you look at that game last night, they did everything that you're supposed to do when you're a team that wants to ascend to that level of being an elite team in the NFL, and specifically in your conference, the NFC. So when I really look at the situation at hand, you have a Lions team that really won because how good their defense played last night, and the just stagnancy of the Raiders offense. It's just such a stagnant offense. Jared Goff had a good night last night, 26-37. He completed 70% of his passes, and he wound up there. He had a touchdown last night, and he threw for 272 yards, but he did have an interception. Jahmyr Gibbs had a breakout game last night of 152 yards on the ground, scoring a touchdown, and also he was able to get 37 yards as a receiver as well, too, on 5 receptions. So he's arrived. Everybody had a whole lot to say. Why would you move up this early for a running back? Blase, blase, blase. But what they have to understand is in today's NFL, the running back isn't a big brute anymore. The running back is a very versatile player that can be a receiver, that can be a blocker, that can be a running back, and sometimes even a quarterback. These guys are they're going after the best athletes again to play the running back position. It's not about you going and putting that guy at wide receiver anymore. If you got a guy who's 5'10", 5'11", you usually now put him in the backfield more than anything, because now you can use him in so many different ways. You don't have to just use the guy to be a running back. The guy can be a receiver as well, too. And Jahmyr Gibbs really does fall into that category. Him and Bijan Robinson were 2 special players, and they could not pass these guys up. You couldn't let these guys drop to the 3rd round. That's the whole thing. And Jahmyr Gibbs being picked in the 1st round the way he was, that was to ensure that you had Jahmyr Gibbs, because Jahmyr Gibbs was going to be getting off the board within the first 15 picks. And the Lions did exactly what good teams do, and that's why they were slapping tables and people were having emotional moments, because they found a key piece to getting their offense the way that they envisioned their offense. And that's exactly what showed up last night. But you still wanted more from this group. They weren't finishing drives. They were getting field goals last night. They got 2 touchdowns and 4 field goals. And sometimes when you have games like this, you'll say a team dominated a team, but in reality, they didn't. What they did was they were able to take advantage of opportunities, but this was a game they still could have lost. The Raiders made the game 14-16 at one point, 7-9 at one point. They really were playing the Lions pretty close, but they just made a lot of boneheaded mistakes like they always do. And Jimmy Garoppolo last night was very ineffective. He was under 50% on the completion percentage, 10 of 21. 126 yards. He threw an interception, and he was sacked 6 times. Everybody's ready to go ahead and send him and McDaniels down the road, but I got bad news for you. They're not going anywhere. Devontae Adams is not getting traded. What else? Josh Jacobs isn't getting traded. So you guys have to understand, these guys are stuck in Vegas. It is what it is. And at the same time, too, Vegas is not that bad of a situation compared to what they got going on in, say, Carolina, or what you got going on in New York. It's just that everybody has these expectations for the Raiders that were really silly. The Raiders were never a Super Bowl contender this year. The Raiders were never a team that you could really say to yourself, oh, I think they could possibly get to the playoffs this year, because the thing is, they don't like the coach. And I've said this several times before. I've said this on Mike's show. I've said this on my show. I've said this on NFL Bet Exchange, that when you don't like your coach, you're not going to play as hard as you would for a coach that you really like, even though you're getting paid to be out here and everything like that. And you should be playing for each other. It's just that at some point you want the owner to realize that you haven't hired the right guy. We need to get the right guy in here. We don't respect this dude at all. Only person that respects him is you. So the more and more we look bad, the more and more it should reflect on him. But at the same time, too, you got to be better than that. You got to try to win these games. And I feel like the Raiders aren't trying anymore. Like, they fell into 2 wins. That's what makes it really sad this year, because the Raiders were always a team that was committed to excellence, but really committed to the shield that's on their helmet. And they're just not anymore. It's like you used to be all about silver and black when you were a Raider. You didn't care about your coaches. You didn't care about the owner. You just go out there and look good. And, you're going to get a king's feast every time you step into a Raider-loved restaurant. So, it's just a really, really difficult situation for the Raiders right now. They're really all over the place. They didn't make any big deals happen here on the trade deadline. And you know what? It's another week where they have a game against a team that is struggling just as much as them, and they have an opportunity to put themselves in a better spot and, fix all this right now, because everything is fixable in the NFL, regardless if you believe it or not. But the Raiders are in a bad position right now, but they can be in a better position with some better decision making. So with that, we move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into our next. And also, real quick, to answer that question about are they a part of the NFC Elite now, I would say yes. I would say that they're the 3rd best team in the NFC right now, without a doubt. And, after the last few weeks or so, seeing how San Francisco's played, they could say they're number 2 right now. But I think if you have San Francisco and Detroit go head up, San Francisco wins that game by 10 points or better, to be honest with you, either in Detroit or in Santa Clara. That's just how that matchup kind of works out, because the defense of the 49ers has always been a thorn in the side of Jared Goff. And one last thing before we move forward. I do have Jared Goff in my top 5 when it comes to the MVP race. And I think that he does need to get MVP consideration as well, too. Troy Aikman was right on the money about Jared Goff last night. But he's still not playing better than Jared Goff in 2018. I'm sorry. Jared Goff was absolutely tremendous. But let's go ahead and move forward. Let's talk about our next topic, which is the MAC Data Game of the Night. MAC Game of the Night. You have this game between the Northern Illinois Huskies going against the Central Michigan Chippewas. And, man, you just got to love the mascot names. Chippewas versus the Huskies tonight. It should be a good one. So when you look at this game, you have 2 teams that are very middling in the MAC right now. Northern Illinois is seen as the much better team in this spot. And Northern Illinois is 2nd place in the West Division behind Toledo. They're 3-1 in the division. And then they have Central Michigan, who's 2-2 in the division. Both teams are 4-4. Now, Central Michigan is a much better home team than they are a road team. They're 3-0 at home. You got Northern Illinois, they're 2-2 at home and 2-2 away. But when you look at the schedules, and this is why Northern Illinois is really the favorite, they have played a much stronger schedule, and that Boston College win is very significant at the top of the year. But they also lost to a lowly Tulsa team by 8, but they had a really good game against Toledo at Toledo where they lost by 2 points. And they've won their last 3 games in a row in very fanatic fashion. They beat Akron 55-14, but that's kind of a gimme game. The significant game, though, that they did win was their home game against Ohio, who I have winning this conference this year. And then they also beat Eastern Michigan, who's been playing pretty good football as well, too, in a very good back and forth game that had some good defense to it as well, too. Now, you got Central Michigan, a team that's actually lost their last 2 out of 3 after starting the season 3-2. Now, they had a bad loss against a really lowly Buffalo team, but Buffalo has a really good offense that can get tricky and get really good with you, especially when they're in a home situation. You have Eastern Michigan, who they beat by 3. That's a significant win, but that's an interstate rival. And then they kind of struggled against Akron, but they beat them 17-10. And then Ball State upset them last week, but they went to Ball State, and Ball State was kind of due for a win there. So what I'm seeing with this one is this. We got a game that's coming up that's on a both these teams are well rested. And I always feel like you have to kind of cater to the home team in this rivalry game, especially with them both chasing the 2 spot right behind Toledo, who does play Buffalo tonight as well, too. And we do have bets for that game as well, too. And when I look at the stats, Central Michigan does have a very good situation going on with their quarterback in Jace Bauer. Jace Bauer had a kind of an off week last week, but it was good enough to where he didn't make too many mistakes. He got sacked a couple times, but he's a gamer. You know what I mean? And it seems like he's been really good when they played at home this year, and he's been really, really solid. But, he makes some mistakes. He gets sacked a little bit, but that's the MAC for you, right? But it is what it is at the end of the day. And then when you look at the numbers for the Northern Illinois, you see that Northern Illinois is just not that much further off when it comes to scoring and things like that from Central Michigan. And their quarterback has almost the same exact numbers, just a little bit better in Lombardi. And I think that their run game is really the portion that carries this team. And if their run game can kind of be put in place, I think that Central Michigan has a great chance. But I'm going to be a little bold here, and I'm going to go ahead and take the dog tonight. And they're a home dog as well, too, so why not? I'm going to take the Chippewas tonight as the play for the night at plus 205 for this game. But this is going to be the MAC game of the night. I wouldn't consider it the game of the week, but it is the game of the night. And, pretty much with that, that's going to be a wrap on a game that I do see going in the direction of an upset tonight. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. And I think the spread is a little bit too long for this game anyway. It should be a little bit shorter, but I do understand because when you look at the schedule for Northern Illinois is much better. You know what I mean? It's a much better situation because they've played against much better. But you know what? At the end of the day, these are rivalry games. This is the MAC. And you know what? Matchups do matter. And I feel like Central Michigan brings the matchup issues for Northern Illinois tonight. So we move forward. Let's go ahead and talk about Francis Ngannou has made a big statement. Does he have what it takes to be a world champion? Well, my question with Francis is this. Well, not Francis, but my question with the public is this. Why is it that everybody needs to be an amateur boxer to say that they're actually a boxer? Now, everybody was like, it was his first boxing match. It was his first this. You know how many times he sparred with a boxer or he sparred in his career? And you guys know, I don't even watch UFC as intently as their fan base and most people that watch UFC. But in all seriousness, when do you see these heavyweights having these hugging competitions and grappling competitions? They're always standing up and trading shots and not kicks. They're trading punches. They rarely kicking. They're rarely spin kicking. You know what I mean? It's just too damn big for all that stuff. And pretty much what happens here is that the public has a perception that he's never, ever tried to box anybody. And that's not true at all. The guy has to do boxing within his training to be able to do this UFC thing accordingly. And what happened is that Francis has a powerful right hand and a powerful left hand. And he has God-given power. So you can take that anywhere. Let me give you a great example. Lyle, great heavyweight. He fought Ali, he fought Foreman, all those guys. And this guy, they got him from federal prison in Colorado, okay? And when he got to federal prison, he had no clue how to box. But he learned how to box in there and became the penitentiary champ. And then when he came out of jail, he started knocking guys out with these violent knockouts. And 10, 12 fights in, he was fighting some of the top guys. And then he was able to crush Ernie Shavers. And he was able to get himself some title shots because of that. And you know that in the heavyweight division, if you can put somebody on their butt, if you can park somebody, you can be a top heavyweight. So all this stuff about, oh, this is a black eye on boxing and this and that, and there is no black eyes on boxing when you step into that squared circle and you can be successful. It doesn't matter what other sports you did. It doesn't matter that Tyson Fury was an Olympic boxer and he was the lineal. Well, that's in y'all book, but him being a undisputed champion, having every single belt in the heavyweight division, all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, though, matchups make fights, and he had an issue with the matchup because Francis is strong and he brings an element that he can end the fight with one punch. And this is absolutely incredible. This is something that you can sell in the boxing world. I think that Francis has always wanted to be a boxer, but the quicker money for him was with MMA. And then as he got good in that field, it became to where he wants to call out his own price. He realized that the boxers get to call out their own price. The UFC guys have to settle for what Dana wants to give you. And he saw the writing on the wall, and he went ahead and he started training in boxing. He's been training in boxing for the last 2 to 3 years. The first person who stepped to him was Deontay Wilder, who wanted to do a fight in Nigeria so they could do their own version of Foreman and Ali, where they're in Africa and they're embracing their African roots. They didn't even care to have a promoter a part of it. Deontay was willing to put up his own money for this situation because he knew it was going to be a box office situation because both of them are big draws. And that's what it's all about. In the heavyweight division, if you're a draw, you're a star, you can do this thing. And right now, let's keep it real. You put Francis against those same guys that Big Baby's fighting, that the guy with the screech curl from Tulare is fighting. Who else? The guys Frank Sanchez is fighting, and he'll knock all their asses out. Come on, man. We all know that because those guys are paid stiffs. Come on. And so what would his opportunity be against those guys? Because in the heavyweight division, it takes one punch to end the fight. You don't need to be the most skillful guy. You don't need to look like Sugar Ray Robinson. You don't need to look like Muhammad Ali. You can go in there and look a little like George Foreman, who wasn't the most technical boxer, but he had some thunderous hands. You know what I mean? Or you can be like a guy like Ken Norton, who just was absolutely just a brick house. Look, the same type of body structure that Francis has. So there's a lot of great things about being a special athlete. And I would say Francis Ngannou is a special athlete. And him knocking down Fury was never a shock because if you guys look at the first tape I had on this, the first segment I had on this, I said that it just takes one right hand to end this fight. And Francis is capable of doing that. And people have to understand that in boxing, you don't need to be 10-year amateur to be a professional. If you can crack, if you can fight, then you can become the best in the sport. As long as you're willing to learn, as long as you're willing to put in the work. It's that simple. And these stories have been told before. It just was a shocker because they put so much stock into Tyson Fury that it was a big win for the UFC community, and they tried to say it was a big loss for the boxing community. But in reality, it was a big loss for Tyson Fury, and it was a big win for Francis Ngannou, even though he didn't win the fight, because he showed that he could hang, and he showed that he could put guys on their butts and possibly knock them out. And Fury, what he did was he showed that he's a con man, and he tried to con us all, and he got conned. It's that simple. So with that, Francis Ngannou, you got yourself a fan right here, and hopefully we'll get you into some more fights. And you know what? This guy is pay-per-view. He's not a, warm-up, tune-up type of fight. You got to put this guy in the main events in big venues. It's going to sell. This guy could actually bring back the heavyweight division. And it's crazy that I'm even saying something like this, that a guy who was the UFC world champion, heavyweight champion, could come into the sport of boxing and win the most coveted piece in all of boxing, and that's the heavyweight championship of the world. And I think that with some more good training, with some more fights, and some more just focus on boxing, he can do it. He can do it. He can do it. Because I know right now, if he fought Usyk, if he caught him with one, it's lights out. And if he hit him with a body shot the way that Dubois hit him with, I think we would see that shot, and it could help him win this fight. This guy is dangerous right now. But at the same time, too, he's a draw. And that's exactly what you want in the heavyweight division. If you look at who's a draw in the heavyweight division, he put himself in the top 5. And there's 3 of them now. We know AJ, Wilder, and Fury. But who's the 4th? There you go. He's in the top 5 now. It is what it is. It is what it is. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take our first commercial break. And when I get back, we're going to jump into NBA hoops tonight. We got the State of the Lakers and the NBA Tuesday night. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, we are back. In horse racing news today, Arcangelo has been retired. Horse is not going to be running in the Classic either. And also a very somber situation as well, too. Practical Move died of a cardiac arrest this morning on the racetrack. So he won't be running in the race. But, that's a very sad situation because that was a very highly expensive horse who was a grade 1 winner and all that good stuff. And, that's a very sad situation for all the connections, the trainer, and everybody involved who worked with that horse. So Godspeed to everybody who's a part of that Practical Move situation. And also happy trails to Arcangelo. And, it's a toughie for a great trainer like Jenna to not be able to have her moment, but it is what it is, man. This is what the heartbreak of horse racing is all about. This is why it's always great when you can see these horses get to the starting gate on race day and then have the success that they have, because it takes a lot to get there. So it is what it is. But Let's go ahead, jump into the Lakers, and we got the state of the Lakers right now. The Lakers wind up getting themselves a win. They're back even 2-2 on the season. We're 4 games in, and they're already ready to blow the whole roster up. You ready to put every guy on the bench who's not scoring 20 points a game that we picked up over the summer. You want to put in every single rookie or second-year player because you saw something that you liked in summer league or something that you liked in preseason. It's always the same old bullshit with the Laker fans, with Laker Nation to start the season off. Bro, it's 4 games in. They evaluate players through five-game stretches. So guys who aren't getting playing time now are not getting the amount of playing time you want them to get. They'll get that playing time as we keep moving along. The reason being is why Rue's not getting a lot of time is because Rue is struggling a little bit. He's not playing great defense. And Torian Brown is outplaying him. So why would you put Torian Brown on the bench if Rue's not giving you the same type of effort? Come on, think about it. Cam Reddish is getting a lot of playing time because Cam Reddish can play some defense. He's trying to prove his point, and they're trying to see if there's a fit with him there, because if there's not a fit with him there, then they're going to release him. That's how it works. You know what I mean? Because that's what type of deal Cam is on. Cam is on a deal, you need to show us something by December. So him getting playing time should not affect anybody's mood. Also, Austin Reeves was a bit better last night. He played much better last night. And by him playing much better last night, they were able to win the game. Austin Reeves decided not to shoot so many threes and take the ball back to the hoop and get back to playing some defense. So that was very helpful for the Lakers as well. And then you had a very kind of whatever game from LeBron, but LeBron did enough to lead this team to victory last night, because what he really did was he played the third fiddle to AD and D'Lo. And, last night, D'Angelo Russell finally did what I wanted him to do. Didn't I ask for this on Friday, y'all? Is that you need to step it up and be better. He had 28 points last night, 8 assists, 2 rebounds, and a block and a steal last night. He was 5 of 5 from the free throw line. He was 50% from 3, going 3 of 6, and he was 10 of 14 from the field. That's what you want from D'Angelo Russell when you're playing against teams like the Orlando Magic. You need other than LeBron. That's what you need in games like this. You don't need LeBron to be your lead scorer against a team that's trying to get to winning consistently. Even though they came into the game undefeated, still, the Lakers were a favorite for a reason. So D'Angelo goes off last night. He gets 28 points. He leads all scorers. And then you know who else had a great game last night and had the game that you want him to have last night was AD. AD had 19 points, 26 rebounds. That was absolutely super needed. 5 assists as well, too. That's a dominant performance, and that usually gets rewarded with the win. LeBron gets his 19 last night, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, but 5 turnovers. He led the team in turnovers last night. That's something that needs to be cleaned up. It needs to be cleaned up pretty quickly as well, too, because LeBron has been pretty bad on the turnover front the first 4 games of the season. Let's keep it real. Austin Reeves, 11 points last night, went 5 of 12, hit 1 3 last night, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and he had a block shot. Taurean Prince, good defense last night. He hit a shot, and he hit some free throws last night. But then they only got 18 points from their bench. That's uncalled for. That's something that needs to be fixed immediately. You had Christian Wood, who was pretty good. He had 9 points, 9 rebounds last night. That was definitely needed. Gabe Vincent shot well last night, 4-7 with 9 points last night himself. And then, he didn't do anything pretty much assist-wise. He only had 2 of those. And then Cam Reddish got 1 shot off and played 14 minutes. But most of the game last night was on the starters. So, you're starting to see a trend with the Lakers because they don't have much of a bench other than Rue and Vanderbilt. And Rue and Vanderbilt were both out last night. So they can only play 4 players. And then you see Max Christie, you see Hodge, you see Lewis, Castleton. These guys really aren't there for sticking around. These guys are there because they're filling up the Lakers roster at this point, and they need to figure out who they're going to replace them with. And this is where I get back to the point to where, why did y'all need to break up the team? Y'all had the team. Y'all had everybody. Now you got four guys that you don't know what to do with. So you're once again stopping the flow of being a great team. But all in all, they got the win. They won 106-103. They shut down Paolo Banchero, held him to single digits. He only had 9 points last night to 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and he had 2 turnovers. And you know what? He only had 3 fouls, but he shot 4-14 and 1 of 5 from the 3. So, they shut him down last night. It's that simple. Then Cole Anthony wasn't good last night either. He went 4-12, 1 of 3 from 3, and he shot free throws last night. Gary Harris was pretty good off the bench, and that's somebody that the Lakers may need to be looking at as a possible pickup at some point this season, because Gary Harris is a really good player. He had 17 points last night and actually led Orlando in scoring, going 6 of 6 from the field and hitting 5 of 5 from the 3-point line. So that's pretty good right there. That was a damn good game right there. And Mo Wagner, former Laker, he had 5 points last night. Mo Wagner, I remember I met him on the elevator for Wilder Fury 1. We were all on the same elevator going up to the suites and all that good stuff. But you look at this, Suggs did well last night. Fultz did well last night. They just didn't score enough against the Lakers last night. Franz Wagner had 16 points. They had a good little team effort, but that's what kept them in the game all night, and that's what made the Lakers be very, series. And you got to be happy with the results that you're getting from the Lakers at home. They still haven't given up 100 points at home. They gave up, they gave up 100 last night, but they gave 95 against Phoenix. They gave up 103. Look at how much they gave up on the road. They gave up 117 to Denver. They gave 132 to the Kings. So you see, it's day and night at home. So it is what it is. The Lakers go ahead and get themselves a very significant win against a team that's on the up and up. They came in undefeated, so this is a good win. It wasn't the same old Magic that they beat last night. They did what they were supposed to do. They shut down their best player, and they were able to win the game by 3. That's what happens, because Banchero's single digits is really pretty much the reason why they don't win that game. Now, if the guy scores 13, they win by 1. You get my drift? All right, let's move forward and talk about the NBA Tuesday night. We got 3 games tonight for the NBA Tuesday night. We got a very, very good game going on tonight in Cleveland between the Knicks and the Cavs. The Knicks coming here as a 3.5-point favorite on the road against the Cavs, who are pretty much coming in here a little short-handed tonight, but, it's Cleveland, and Cleveland rocks. You know what I mean? Cleveland always shows up on Monday night for some odd reason for their team. You know what I mean? The fans will be there, and the team should be there as well, too. The Knicks are 1-2. The Cavs are 1-2, but the Knicks 1-2 is a little bit different from the Cavs 1-2. The Cavs have lost games that they should have won. That's the whole thing. The Cavs kind of caught us off guard. They lost to the Thunder, and they lost to the Pacers back-to-back, and both these games were at home. So that's why you're kind of looking at them in that sense. And then also, they only won their first game by a point, and that was against the Nets. The Knicks, they had to play against the Knicks had to start their season off against the Celtics. And then their game that they played Saturday night against New Orleans, that just was over quickly. You know what I mean? That was just, mail it in, whatever. But at the end of the day, this Knicks team is a different team. They're playing much better basketball going forward. You know what I mean? They have a big 3 in their own right, with Hart, Brunson, and Randall, because those guys really push that team. And as long as New York's playing defense, they're in every game. That's just what it is at the end of the day. And I expect them to really take off in once we get to November and find themselves in a good position to possibly challenge the Celtics and 76ers for a spot as the Atlantic Division champion, or as a spot as being a part of the 6 that make it to the playoffs. But everything is starting to make a lot of sense, and we do enter tournament week as well too. I think we're in the first round, first quarterfinals of the tournament and everything like that. So we'll have games this week where the court's going to look a little bit different for the tournament. And you know what? This is exciting because everybody's at the point now to where they got an opportunity to possibly steal this thing. So you could be a team that picks first and win the mid-season tournament. So this does give the NBA a little bit more parity. That means that right now, if you were a front runner at the beginning of the year and you were a team that was pretty good, you got an opportunity to win a mid-season championship. But, if you're one of these teams that are always good and you're going to start off the season kind of middling and kind of bad, then you might miss the opportunity on that, and that's going to motivate you to possibly win the NBA Finals. So this is really good. But when it comes down to what I'm picking in the game tonight, I'm going to go ahead and take the Cavs with the plus 3.5. They're at home. I feel like they do cover in this game. And if they don't win, at least they lose by 2. So that's where I'm going with this one. Plus 3.5 to the Cavaliers. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. All right, so we have ourselves up next being the Spurs and the Suns. The Spurs coming here 1-2. The Suns are 2-1. The Spurs got absolutely cooked last night by the Clippers. Clippers beat them by 40 points, okay? Or Sunday, it was Sunday night. They got cooked by the Clippers, and it was bad. And, opening weekend, the kid got 21 on Friday in his first ever win in the NBA. Then he gets 11. But see, my thing was he was 21-12 on Friday. They won the game by 5. He goes 11 for 2. They lose the game by 40. And opening night, he went 15-5, and he had I don't know how many turnovers as well too. I think he only in the rebounds like kind of just fell in his hands, but they lost that game by like 4 or 5 points. So my point is this: I don't know who has to stress it to him more, but be a double-digit rebounder nightly, bro. Don't do it when it comes into your peripheral. Do it every single night. Make that your plan. I'm going to get 10 rebounds before the half is over. And I think that will be more helpful for this Spurs team. He has to turn into a selfless teammate because that's what this team needs to go ahead and hand them over the team. But when you're playing like a total jackass like the rest of them, then you guys aren't going to go anywhere. And I truly do feel that this team doesn't understand that they do have a piece in Wemby that can really help them actually win basketball games. But they're more of a detriment to themselves than anything. And they really are shooting themselves out of these games. And they're making themselves look a little foolish because they have a guy that can really go ahead and dominate on the defensive end and dominate on the boards. But they're so emphasizing him shooting a damn three-pointer. So, when the Spurs start playing realistic basketball, they might have a chance at actually beating teams. The Suns, I don't care if Bradley Beal is going to be in tonight. I don't care if Booker's going to be in tonight. KD is playing MVP basketball right now, and he's getting to know his new teammates. And, he's going to have rapport with Devin and Brad. We know that. They all train with each other in the offseason. They always have a day where they meet up in New York and everybody goes at it. But there's other guys on this team that don't know Kevin yet and want to get to know Kevin and want to be on Kevin's good side and want to be guys that can be depended on to be, high-end role players. So I like the way that they're going about their business right now. You go ahead and you ease the other stars into this situation while KD, who's your healthy star, goes ahead and forms the pack that he needs to form with the rest of the team so they know whose house this truly is, because this ain't Devin Booker's team. This is KD's team until further notice. Let's keep it real. So tonight I got the Suns. Actually, I got the Suns. I had them at a 7.5 earlier, but now they're at a 6.5. I think the Suns absolutely shred these boys tonight. But the smarter bet here for the public is to play the under 225.5, because in reality, the Spurs only have so many people that can really supply that amount of points for them, and they're going to need a lot of fouls and a lot of help to get that. Phoenix is not going to do that for them. Phoenix is a defensive team now, and they're going to lock it up really nice tonight. So with that, we move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into our next game, our final game, which is going to be the Magic at the Clippers. The Clippers come into this one feeling pretty good about themselves. And I know you guys are like, you didn't talk about it. Well, I'll talk about it right now. The Clippers finally made the deal that they've been pining to make for the last 3 months. They traded for James Harden last night, and it was late last night as well, too. So they got James Harden, but they had to get rid of Nicholas Batum. They had to get rid of a pick. They had to get rid of the Morris twin, and they had to get rid of somebody else. But all those guys are very, very, very feasible players. But the funniest thing is the Clippers didn't just get James Harden. They got PJ Tucker as well, too. So that might be a very good rotation for the Clippers when they put all those guys in the game together when you do the small lineup situation. The Clippers did make themselves a little bit better, but they lost a lot of depth. You have to understand what makes the Clippers stand out is the depth that they have. Now they don't have that depth. They lost a really good shooter in Batum. They lost a really good defender in Morris. And, they're going to lose future picks as well, too. So there's just a lot of things. It's like, you got to make this work. Harden, you can't come here and just be back in LA hanging with the homies, doing a bunch of extra shit. You have to come here and win. Westbrook, Kawhi, PG, I know they slammed the table for this one. And they need to hold James Harden accountable. James Harden has shown us all that basketball is not his priority over the last few years. Even though he keeps saying it just doesn't feel like it, And I feel like the Clippers are just taking on another headache. They did the same thing with Westbrook. They did the same thing somewhat with Paul George as well, too. So they're taking on big salaries with the idea of winning championships. You know what I mean? But they keep just being the team. They keep just being an AAU team where you're getting the best players, but for some odd reason, they're just not healthy enough to play for you when it's time to play in the big game. And you guys got to understand, Ballmer got into hoops because his son was an AAU basketball player, and he funded that team. So he's funding this team the same way he funded that AAU team for his son in Washington. And that has to stop because you don't have a good enough coach for this group, it seems like. And you have to hold the coach a little bit more accountable because the Clippers should be a top 3 team in the West. And if they are to struggle for 3 to 4 weeks before we can get into a groove, they need to think about possibly bringing in the head coach that can help this move. You know what I mean? That's what you got to start thinking about in a sense. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. The Clippers are going to be a little empty-handed tonight. The Magic probably do have a bad taste in their mouth from almost beating the Lakers last night. They were up 4 at the half. And you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb and say this. I feel like Banchero has himself a game tonight. They're going to overestimate the Clippers. The Clippers are too short-handed for me to really trust them with a 6.5 point spread. Give me the Magic money line as our dog of the day in the NBA. So there it is, Magic plus 205. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. And we will get ourselves ready for our final commercial break. And when I get back, we will jump into Talking Tickets. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Captain.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, here we are. Let's go ahead and jump into Talkin Tickets. And Talkin Tickets is by far the star of the show. We all know that. So let's go ahead and jump into our first group. And tonight is going to be the Northern Illinois, Central Michigan bets. I got Central Michigan plus 205 tonight. We also got the plus 105 first half. Also under 9.5 minus 135 first quarter. And then we have Northern Illinois under 24.5 plus 105. That's going to be our Northern Illinois, Central Michigan bets for today. Now we move forward. Let's go ahead and jump into Buffalo and Toledo. Buffalo plus 15. I think that they keep this game competitive to lose by 14 or less. And then I think the over 27 will be in play because Buffalo does have an offense that can get on the board. We know Toledo has an offense that can get on the board. So I feel like we will be having ourselves some good action here in the first half. And then in the first quarter, I have Buffalo jumping out to a lead, possibly a quick field goal lead or a quick touchdown lead or something of that nature. And I got them going ahead and covering in that first quarter on the money line plus 250. That's good value for 15 minutes and hoping that this team can go ahead and get that because really in reality, the first quarter is always a 50-50 quarter. Come on, let's keep it real. And then you have the over 52 plus 115 alternate line, meaning that it's really a over 50, but I'm going to put it at 52 because I feel like they're going to score way more than that tonight. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out, and that's going to be Buffalo and Toledo tonight. Now we have ourselves the NBA Tuesday Trifecta. I know you guys like that. It's a little ode to Breeders' Cup week this week as well, too. So, yeah, let's see how it goes. NBA Tuesday Trifecta. We got the plus 3.5 to the Cavs. We got the under 225.5 to the Spurs and Suns. And then we wrap it up with the Magic plus 210 tonight. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. All right, we have ourselves the World Series Game 4 bets, and I just got breaking news that Adolis Garcia is going to be out tonight. So you guys go ahead and mark that down that the slugger for the Rangers is going to be out of this game tonight. So that's something that you can go ahead and put in your notes and know that, we're not going to see one of the stars of this World Series tonight because he's been dealing with an injury. So pretty much I got the Diamondbacks. I already had the Diamondbacks before I heard that injury is going to happen. Like I said, this is a must-win situation. They've showed up in all their must-win situations all season. So I'm not worried about them at all when it comes to this. I'm taking the minus 115 Diamondbacks. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. Then we got the over 5 minus 120. First 5 innings. I feel like this is going to be a firefight, and we're going to get more than 6 runs by the first 5 innings as well too. And then I like the over 10.5 runs plus 115. This is going to be alternate line, not an alternate like. So with that, that's what it's going to be because I feel like it's going to be a game that finishes up like 7-6, 8-7, something of that nature. They're going to score runs tonight. That's how it's looking, and that's how it's feeling, and that's how it should be. So let's see if we can get it on. 10.5 plus 115. And then we have the Diamondbacks going over 4.5 runs tonight. So we need the Diamondbacks to score 5 or more runs, and we go ahead and cash that ticket. So pretty much with that, that's going to be a wrap on Talkin Tickets, and that's going to be a wrap on today's show. So I thank you guys very much for tuning in. You guys are the absolute best. I'll be back tomorrow for you guys at noon as well too, or possibly 11 o'clock. It just all depends on how things go in the morning for me and everything like that. But all in all, make sure that you join me tomorrow so then we can go ahead and break it on down again and get you guys those Talkin Tickets and all that good stuff. Talk the World Series. Talk some basketball as well, too. I think the Lakers play tomorrow night. as well. And we got a full schedule in the NBA as well, too. So it should be a lot of fun. And then we got some college football to talk about as well, too. So you guys, as you always know, bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving. And as I always say, as we say, this is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. And I'll be at you tomorrow. So you guys have a beautiful night, and I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.